What's going on, everybody? Crazy Dog back for another video. And this will be my AFC East Draft review / grades. Oh, man. Still can't believe the draft's already over, you know? We're closing in on a week since the draft already. Yep. But now it's time to do the grades. So starting off with the basement team in the AFC East from last year, the New York Jets. Their positions of need were quarterback, linebacker, offensive line, corner, and tight end. So let's see how they address those positions in the draft. They had quite a few picks too. So starting off the draft for the Jets, with the 6th pick, the Jets selected Jamal Adams, safety out of LSU. All right, that's a good pick. Get yourself another very good safety, you know. I do not know about Calvin Pryor. I don't know if he'll be there very long. I know they just got rid of Marcus Gilchrist today, too. And speaking of Marcus Gilchrist, with the second round selection, 7th pick in the second round, 39th overall, the Jets found his replacement with Marcus May, safety out of Florida. So there you go. You got your two safeties of the future. Not too bad, right? You know, both 6 foot, both very good. We'll see where that takes them. Then in round 3, the Jets decide to go offense and select Ardarius Stewart, wide receiver out of Alabama. Okay. Don't really know too much about Ardarius. I mean, he was a part of a pretty good offense in Alabama. You know? We'll see how he fits in New York. Who, by the way, lost Devin Smith for the year again with an ACL injury. And then in the 4th round, the Jets stayed offense and selected Chad Hansen, wide receiver out of Cal. So you doubled down on safeties and wide receivers to start your draft. It's a bold strategy. Very bold. So moving on to round 5, they had 2 picks. The first of which they used on Jordan Leggett, tight end out of Clemson. Okay, so you get another tight end. And then later on in round 5, pick 38, 181 overall, this was a comp pick, and they actually got it from the Browns. The Jets selected Dylan Donahue, defensive lineman out of West Georgia. Okay, never heard of that university before. So I don't know how good this dude is, but he's going to be a mere depth pick. I know that. And then now we're moving on to the 6th round. The Jets selected with the 4th pick, 188 overall, from the Browns through the Texans and the Bears. So that pick's been through a lot. The Jets selected Elijah McGuire, running back out of Louisiana Lafayette. Okay, so you get yourself a backup for Matt Forte. All right. And then with your last 2 picks, both in the 6th round, the 13th selection, 197, from the Rams through the Bears, through the Cardinals. God. The Jets selected Jeremy Clark, cornerback out of Michigan. There's a lot of players from Michigan that went in this draft. I think they said 11. God. And then with their last pick of the draft, the Jets selected cornerback Derek Jones from Ole Miss. By the way, that pick went through Tampa. Wow. They went full-on defense, except for maybe a few picks where they went receiver early on, and then they went running back. So looking at the picks that and they went tight end too. Can't forget about Jordan Leggett from Clemson, you know. But overall, they did not really address any of their needs. They only addressed corner and tight end. So, I mean, looks like they could be going into this upcoming season with maybe Hackenberg at quarterback, or McCown, or Bryce Petty. Linebacker's still a question mark, and offensive line is still a question mark. Not to mention, the Jets were, they're still going through a bit of a purge where they're just getting rid of all these players that really don't mean nothing to them right now. We'll see if that purge continues. But if I had to give the Jets a grade, I would give it maybe a C. Because, yes, they did address their defense a lot, but they didn't address the quarterback spot. They didn't really address the offensive line. And they didn't address the linebacker. 3 very needy spots for the Jets. But, they did pretty good in the secondary part of it, though. So that's why it's a C, and it's not an F. I very rarely give a team an F. I mean, you would literally have to make, no picks, to get an F. But, yeah, I give the Jets a C. Now, moving on to the third place team, the Buffalo Bills, who, by the way, fired their GM, and I believe all their scouts, too, the day after the draft ended. Wow. So, let's see how the Bills drafted. But first, here's their spots of need. They needed a receiver, quarterback, cornerback, linebacker, and tight end. So let's see how they addressed those positions in the draft, if they did. So with their first selection, the 27th pick in the first round, because the Chiefs traded up to 10 to take a quarterback, the Bills selected Tre'Davious White, corner out of LSU. That makes a lot of sense because they lost Stephon Gilmore. They need a replacement for him, because Gilmore was arguably their best corner. So you're pretty much replacing him with Tre'Davious White. That's not too bad. Then in the second round, the Bills had 2 picks, the first of which they used on stud wide receiver Zay Jones out of East Carolina. Okay, so there's another good receiver for you. I believe they lost Marquise Goodwin. And they did not pick up the option on Sammy Watkins either. I don't know what they're thinking. But Zay Jones is a pretty dang good wide receiver. So I think Tyrod Taylor's going to get to know him quite well this year. Then with their second pick in the second round, 31st in the round, 63rd overall from the Falcons, the Bills selected Deion Dawkins, guard out of Temple. Okay, so you get yourself another offensive lineman. All right, not too bad. That's a good pick for your offensive line. Maybe he'll start at guard. We'll see. Then you didn't have any picks in the third or the fourth round. Now moving on to the fifth round, they had 2 picks. The first one, which they used on Matt Milano, linebacker out of Boston College, so you get another good pick for the linebacking core. And then with your second 5th round pick, the 28th pick, 171st overall from the Cowboys, the Bills took Nathan Peterman, quarterback out of Pitt. Okay, so he's most likely going to be the third stringer behind Cardale and Tyrod. Alright. And then with your last pick of the draft in the 6th round, pick 11, 195 overall, the Bills selected Tanner Vallejo, linebacker out of Boise State. Alright, that's not a bad draft for the Bills. Of course, I know the Bills didn't like it very much because they fired the GM, Whaley, and the scouts. So, yeah, didn't go too well with the Pagulas. But yeah, I'm going to give the Bills a solid B. B for Bills! Because they addressed a lot of their positions. The only one they did not address was tight end. And I think they could have used a tight end, but we'll see what they do to fill that hole, if they even have a hole at tight end. But yeah, whatever. So moving on to the second place team, the team from South Beach, the Miami Dolphins. Dolphins had quite a few picks. They finished second place behind the Patriots, and they had 4 needs: linebacker, offensive line, defensive line, and corner. So let's see how they did. So with their first pick, the 22nd pick in the first round, the Miami Dolphins selected Charles Harris. Okay, get a beast at linebacker. All right. To go along with Kiko. Then with the second round selection, they went linebacker again and selected Raekwon McMillan out of Ohio State. Okay, so you get 2 beasts at linebacker. Okay, I like that. I like that a lot. Then in the third round, the Dolphins selected Cordray Tankersley, corner out of Clemson. Okay, get yourself another dynamic corner to go in that secondary. I like that too. I'm liking what the Dolphins have done so far. I really am. Making some great picks, Alright, now moving on to the 5th round. The Dolphins had 2 picks. The first one, the 20th pick, 164th overall, from the Eagles through the Titans. The Dolphins selected guard Isaac Asiata out of Utah. Okay, there you go. Get yourself another guard, an OG. That's funny. Yeah, he could be a second stringer, with the Unicorns, But we'll see what the Dolphins do with Asiata. I'm pretty sure he'll make the team. Then with your second 5th round selection, the Dolphins selected Devon Godcho. I think that's how you say his last name. Defensive tackle out of LSU. Okay, there you go. Get yourself another tackle to put up there with the guys we already got on that front 4. Or front defensive line. I don't know if they want a 3-4 or 4-3. I'm just guessing they want a 4-3. I don't know. My team runs a 4-3. I don't know if the Dolphins do. But I know they got Cameron Wake, Ndamukong Kung Su, and some very, very good players on that defense. And they just solidified it even more with the draft, with the selection of Devon Godcho. It's a pretty cool name. Low key. Now moving on to the 6th round, the Dolphins once again, from the Eagles, selected Vincent Taylor, defensive tackle out of Oklahoma State. Okay, so you go D tackle twice in a row. Can never have too many D tackles, right? And then with your last pick in the draft, 7th round, 19th pick, 237 overall from the Buccaneers, the Dolphins selected Isaiah Ford, wide receiver out of Virginia Tech. There you go. Another great pick. He'll probably be a special teamer. Wouldn't be surprised to see him pop up on the starting roster, But that's all with the Dolphins. Now, in terms of draft grade, I'm giving the Dolphins an A. You know why? Because they addressed every single position of need. And I mean, they made their defense even more dominant with the draft selections of Charles Harris and Raekwon McMillan. Those 2 guys are going to be so dynamic in that defense. And to all you Dolphins fans out there, Raekwon McMillan's a boss. Coming from an Ohio State fan. He's a boss. He's a leader, too. He demands the best out of his guys. So that's the Dolphins draft. And now we only got one more team to look at. Yes, that's right. It's the team that has been dominating the offseason thus far. The Cheaters. The New England Rats. The Patriot Rats, as a lot of people call them. I just call them the Pats, But looking at their draft, they had 5 needs. defensive line, linebacker, offensive line, corner, and running back. So let's take a look at their draft, shall we? So, of course, they didn't have a pick in the first or second round. Their first pick in the draft came in the third round, pick 19, 83rd overall from the Titans. And the Patriots selected Derek Rivers, defensive end out of Youngstown State. I really wanted this dude on the Browns, but he's going to New England. He's probably going to wind up winning a ring, but very good pick by the Patriots there. Derek Rivers will help that pass rush out heavily. And then, staying in the third round, 2 picks later, from the Lions, the New England Patriots selected Antonio Garcia, tackle out of Troy. Don't really know too much about him. Then in the fourth round, the Patriots, once again, from Seattle, this time, selected Dietrich Wise, defensive end out of Arkansas. You see a pattern here? And then with their last pick of the draft, yes, that's right, they only had 4 picks in this entire draft, the Patriots selected Connor McDermott, tackle out of UCLA. Yeah, that's the draft. They went defensive end, tackle, defensive end, tackle. Now, if this was any other team, I would probably give them maybe a C- because they only addressed 2 spots. And, of course, they only had 4 picks. But because it's the Patriots, and that team's like a freaking demigod-like team in the NFL. You can never beat them. You'd be lucky to beat them in the playoffs. Not to mention they are known cheaters. I'm going to give them... What should I give them? I'm going to give them... Not an A. No. If I was going to give them an A, it'd be for asshole. But no. I'm going to give them a B for Belichick. Yeah, I'm going to give them a B for Belichick. For some... I don't know. I don't want to give them like anything like that because, I hate them. But they had a decent draft. But it's just the fact that they have just done so much this offseason. It's like the draft's just like, nah, who cares? But yeah, I'm going to give them a B- just because they got some good picks, but they only addressed 2 positions and their needs. Like, no. If this was any other team, I'd give them an F or a C. I mean, you only address defensive end and tackle. The end of your lines. Really? Whatever. That's the Patriots for you. Now watch, they're going to win a Super Bowl now. But, they didn't just do that. They went out in free agency and, signed almost every player. That was, every good player. Yeah, they did. They did all those trades, too. But, whatever. I don't really care for the Patriots too much. Their reign, their dominance of the AFC East will come to an end soon enough. And my guess is it's going to be the Dolphins who are going to take over the East once the Patriots' reign ends. That's a bold prediction right there. But yeah, that's going to do it for this video. Hope you guys liked it. I'm CrazyDog99, and I'll be back for the NFC East very soon. I'm out.